Hi, my name is Mark Adams, and welcome to the Private Label Report. This is a podcast where I invite you into my office and we talk about all things Amazon private label selling. Pull up a chair. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Private Label Report. A little bit of a fun topic this time. This is something a little bit different. Just wanted to follow up because as I'm recording this, I just got back from China and the Canton Fair. So I want to give you a little bit of an update on what's there, kind of a little bit of what's the process and going. Just talk about going to the Canton Fair in general. But just a little bit of background first. You probably, I look really tired, I'm sure. I mean, for me, it's a long flight. It's like 25 hours. So I'm recording this a couple days after I got back. I've been fighting jet lag and trying to get back on the right time frame. I'm actually on the east coast of the United States. So for me, it's 12 time zones to get to China and back. So I don't think you can take a farther trip than from where I am in the world to literally halfway around the world and go to China. But short of the long plane ride back and forth, it's a wonderful trip and wonderful experience. Actually, I did a private label live conference there where I took 35 Amazon buyers over there, and we did a little bit of training, had a little bit of fun, and then obviously went to the Canton Fair. So that's something that was an experience in itself, and everything went really well, and I'll tell you about all these things in a second. But I'll just say this about the Canton Fair and going to China. If this is something you're serious about your business, sooner or later, you have to make it to China to go and buy. There's so many reasons to go. The Canton Fair is a collection of 20,000 vendors. 20,000 vendors. There's like 20 buildings with like 500 vendors per floor, and there's like multiple floors per building. And then they have 3 different phases. So you're looking at the equivalent of, over the whole course of the fair, somewhere in the neighborhood of about roughly 60,000 vendors, and then about 200,000 people per phase go to the Canton Fair. The first phase, I think, is really about more about equipment and things like that. And the second phase is more consumer goods. And for those of us as Amazon sellers, that's really the phase to go. And then phase 3, I think, is really more focused on textiles and clothes, shoes, things like that. So phase 2 is probably what you want to look at. But just regardless, what an experience it is. When you're going there, if you can't find a 6-figure business there, you probably just ought to stay in a job or get a job because it's not for you. I mean, it is literally the mecca of private label product buying. And the whole thing about going to the Canton Fair is that when you're there and you're talking to them, and they all speak English, or most of them speak English, but when you're there talking to them, they know that you've flown halfway around the world to see them, and they look at you as a very, very serious buyer. And they're very, very willing to work with you. And I found that in my case, I was getting about 30% less in pricing than what I was getting when I went through Alibaba. Not to mention the fact that a lot of the vendors there, and some of them certainly are on Alibaba, but not all of them are. So you're able to get access to things that other people don't have. So really a good trip to go, and it's something that if you're serious about your business, you ought to be able to go there and get there at one point or another. A couple of things we did as a group that were really, really fun. I've got a page. You'll see it here, link on the page, but I guess it's markscottadams.com/Canton-Fair, where we have and put all the details, and we do a trip. Or I think I'm going to go back in April. So depending on when you're watching this or listening to it, I'd love to have you come with us if you want. We basically put together a program to where we combine some coaching and some training along with going to the Canton Fair. But basically what we did in this past trip, we had people from like about 35 people, I think, join me on the trip, all Amazon buyers in all different phases, everything from brand new to people who have 100 plus different products. So lots of different experiences in the room. And it was really fun for me to watch everybody connect and click as a group and get the mutual benefit of being around other Amazon sellers. I mean, when I started out my first business years ago, it's actually the franchise business. And one of the big advantages I thought was to be able to have other people who were on the same path, who you could pick up the phone and then say, gosh, I'm having this issue. What would you do about it? Or they could call you and you could just basically exchange ideas. And that's the forum that we really tried to create. It's the old adage, I guess, where people come for the information, but they stay for the community. So it was so fun watching everybody get together, and we would all meet after each day's work and sit down and have some drinks and discuss things whatsoever. Or, just different things, I guess. But the thing we started out was a reception. We actually rated this a really, really nice trip. We went to a place called the Canton Club, which is, you don't think of Chinese country club together in the same sentence, but Guangzhou, or Canton in English, is a city of 14 million people, and it's really as modern as any other city you're going to have in the world. And you're going to see Maseratis and Ferraris and all kinds of things. Actually, the Canton Club was in the nicest part of town. It was right next to the Ferrari dealership. So we were trying to work out some test drives, but didn't seem to go out very well, I guess. Couldn't seem to get that done. But we started out with a reception when we got there, and we really nice fun. Everybody got a chance to get together and talk and meet and get to know everybody. Then we had a day where we went into specific coaching, really about how to better deal with suppliers and find products and some plans to be able to help launch and drive your business. So that was a productive day as well. We also had a chance for everybody to go in and talk about their business and ask and just discuss whatever issues they were having. And then that way, myself and everybody else in the group could help them. So it was really fun to be able to have not only access to all the other Amazon sellers, but all the individual coaching that we were able to do as well. So that was fun. And then we actually went out and looked at some products in a different place. I'm not sure I'm going to do that again, but that was very helpful too. I know I got to walk around with some of the members of the group and coach them on finding products, and that was really a lot of fun. I think some people had some breakthroughs there, but we just a couple things just to go off. This people talk about. Everybody seems to think that the Chinese suppliers are going to scam you, which is a whole nother topic, which is obviously not true. But here's two things that happened to us that really on the trip. One of the ladies in the group, she happened to leave her cell phone, her iPhone, in a cab somewhere, and she was all nervous about it, and reasonably so. So what we did is we texted to the phone, if found, please text back to this number. And sure enough, somebody turned the phone into the police department, and then they texted her, and she got her phone back. So imagine that happening wherever you are. You just think, gosh, my phone is lost forever, and I'll never see it again. But a very honest culture. We were there on a seminar day. We'd finished. We were walking out. We were getting ready to go back to the hotel, and one of the people from the Canton Club came running out carrying a backpack, and they recognized me, of course, as the person speaking, and handed it to me, and I held it up and said, "Does anybody leave a backpack?" And one of the people in the group said, "Yeah, that's my backpack," and he realized he had his passport in there and everything. So if he'd have lost that'd have been a major issue. But there's two incidents right there where imagine that had happened, here in the Western world. Who knows? Some people I'd like to choose to believe would have been honest enough to return it, but I don't think most would. But there's two cases where both times it was our fault and you had some integrity there. Kind of fun. But then we and then one of the things, and I'll see if I can put a picture here on the screen, we'd sit around after the Canton Fair and we had drinks every night, discuss the event and see what happened. We had a waiter, his name was Fuzzy. We nicknamed him Fuzzy because he had fuzzy hair. You'll see his picture pop up now maybe, but he didn't know how to pour beer in a glass without getting like the 4, 5, 6 inches of the foam on top of the thing. So we had to show him how to pour beer in a glass. So that tells you what kind of group we had, I guess. But then he just started smiling every time, and we'd yell at him Fuzzy, and he'd come running, and now they knew he had his new beer pouring skills. He was proud to show that off, and I'm thinking probably the money we paid him was probably a couple months' salary for him. But the little things I think we go on trips are what are fun. But one of the things too, ultimately people were there not only for the coaching and to meet other people, but really ultimately to go to the Canton Fair. And I had been before. I've been to trade shows, 30, 40 of those over my life, and buying. That's the way I used to have to buy for all of my stores. But since we have the internet, there's not a lot of buying that goes on through face-to-face contact, especially at trade shows anymore. It's kind of a lost art almost. But to see people come back after the trade show, after the Canton Fair, talking about how huge it was, how many items they found, to some of the positive comments. We had a couple of people extend their stay so they could stay longer and go to the different or additional days at the Canton Fair. One lady was saying they kicked her out at closing time because she was having so much fun getting products and all the products that people found. So it was very rewarding to me to see people build their business that way and truly get the value of going to the Canton Fair. So it was a good group, good trip. If you're just thinking about your products in general, anything and everything is there that you could ever imagine. One of the things I suggested people do is just go through the fair and know what products you're looking for first, and then try and knock that out. Then maybe spend a day where what I was calling a day of discovery. Walk down the aisles with an open mind and see if something hits you, because in my mind, I found 2 potential 6-figure brands that I'm now exploring, and I probably will pick one of the 2. But when you start doing that and you start thinking about it, and you go home in the evening or to the hotel in the evening, and then you start doing some research on some products and you figure all the possibilities that can happen, and then you go back the next day and you start negotiating with suppliers, it is a really, really good way to go. One of the things, too, to think about is that you've got the samples right there. You don't have to go through the time and expense of having them sent to you. You can pick them up, touch them, see the quality, feel whatever it is, and then know exactly what you're doing before you place an order. You obviously don't have to place orders at the fair. you can do it and come back later on. I mean, it's not an arm twisting thing where they want you to buy. They'll ask you to, of course, but you can do it there or you can do it back. But anything and everything is there. And there's some processes that we talked about of how to go through that. But I think too, considering what your products are, what you want to go in, just go to their website, which is cantonfair.org.cn, which is the abbreviation for China. And then you'll look and see what phases and then make your arrangements to go if you want. By no means do you have to go to the Canton Fair to build a business on Amazon. But I think if you're truly serious about it and it's something where you want to meet some people and do some things like that, it's worth going and it's worth doing, because just the money you'll save on the products you buy while you're there more than likely will pay for your trip and then some. So ultimately, it's something that I would encourage you to go to the Canton Fair, or at least plan on doing it. They have it twice a year, which is in April, and then also in October. If you'd like to go back with us, I think I'm going to try and take another group this April coming up, and I'm recording this at the end of October. But go to the link that you see on the page, which is markscottadams.com/Canton-Fair. And depending on when you're seeing this, I'm getting all the details and everything finalized going in to set up again at the hotels. And, I've got arrangements to make to set all this conference up. But I'm sure we'll have the same number of people, maybe even more, because as good of experience as people have, I've already had a lot of people who told me or have emailed me, contacted me, said they wanted to go to this next one with me. So I'd like to invite you to come with me. I hope that you're interested in coming. Just go to that page and then that I just mentioned and check out all the details. I might not have them up by the time you're seeing this, but we will have some early bird pricing to be able to go. Check that out, and then as we get closer, the price will change as we get closer to the trip. But anyway, we had a fun trip. As an Amazon seller, you got to look at going, and it's very, very worthwhile to go. So with that said, again, I thank you very, very much for being here, whether you're listening on YouTube or iTunes or you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for being part of the podcast, and see you next time.